The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you. Houston, we have a problem is a popular catchphrase suggesting an unexpected issue. Ajay Patel, the president and CEO of Vancouver Community College, says, "We have a looming problem in BC's skills trade workforce. There are more than $88 billion worth of major projects ahead of us, requiring up to 10,000 skilled tradespeople over the next several years. A combination of retirement, out-migration from the province, a drop in immigration, and a need to attract young people to trades have created this skills gap," says Patel. He goes on to say, key to addressing the gap is to attract people to a career in the trades. And he cites the number of people with university degrees who are struggling to find employment and are now signing up for programs at VCC as an indication trades are attracting talent seeking well-paying trades jobs. For me, the conversation goes beyond the trade shortages, says Patel. It's really about economic competitiveness, productivity, and our ability to deliver on the ambitions we have set for ourselves as a province and a country. According to Patel, if we get it right, everyone benefits. If we get it wrong, we all lose. I invited Ajay Patel, the president and CEO of Vancouver Community College, to join me for a conversation that matters about the skilled trades opportunities in BC and how we can meet them. Ajay, welcome.
Hi, Stuart. How are you? Great to be back.
Well, and fantastic to be having this continuing conversation about the need to really fill this gap in the trades workforce. You know, off the top there, I talked about $88 billion worth, and really that's just scratching the surface. And it's interesting to hear that number because so much of what we hear is like, we've handcuffed ourselves. We're not moving forward. Things aren't happening. But they really are, aren't they? And this is even before we see some of the major projects that are being promoted by the Prime Minister being moved forward into the economic agenda.
Right. $88 billion sounds like a lot, but I think British Columbia, if you look at the strategy the government has ambition of getting to $200 billion by 2035. And I view the $88 billion as not just a dollar number, but that's pipelines, that's roads, that's housing, that's clean energy, that's all of those things. And I see it as an opportunity. And I really am concerned that sometimes we don't have the talent that's going to take to deliver those projects.
So what is it that has held us back from being able to build that talent pool? Is it because maybe we stalled in the development of major projects for a while? Or is it that there just hasn't been this appeal to younger people to look at careers in the trades?
Yeah. I think it's both of the things that you described. And I don't think there's one thing we can point to, but in my opinion, as we take on these infrastructure projects, we talk about the money we need, we talk about the land that we need, we talk about all these things, but we assume the people are there to build it. We need to be part of that same conversation. The economic infrastructure that we're talking about has to line up with the talent infrastructure that we need to develop. It can't be an after conversation. They have to be parallel conversations. So I think we're now really coming to grips with that. And I think that that's the opportunity moving forward. As we talk about these big projects, we need to think about where the talent is going to come from, what type of training is required, what type of retraining is going to be required, and where there may be gaps that need to be filled.
So what kinds of jobs are we talking about here? You know, people talk about trades and they go, oh yeah, trades, plumbing, electrical, and carpentry. But that's not even scratching the surface.
No, I think when we look at the training, there's going to be the training that's really lined up with the projects, with a mining project, a clean energy project, a pipeline project, a housing project, construction and all that. But we realize that each of those industries needs its own infrastructure. They need everything from office administrative assistants to water technicians to accountants and so to technologists and IT specialists. So we need to look at it. That's why I said we need to look at it as a whole infrastructure piece. Some of those talents can be acquired through other industries, and some of that talent really needs to be developed. The other thing we have to keep really in mind is the advancement of technology. One of the best examples I have is we have an auto technician program. You had a car 20 years ago, you needed an auto technician then. You've got a car now, you need an auto technician now. The car you had 20 years ago, very different than the car you probably have now, and be very different than the car you have tomorrow.
You need a completely different auto technician
Yes,
from the one
exactly.
20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And so how are we navigating that? How are we changing with that?
The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you. How do you keep on top of that, the advances in technology, to make sure that your graduates are entering the workforce with the skills that their future employers require?
Yeah. So VC is really fortunate. We have a saying, real learning for real change, and it's really all about hands-on learning. And so I'll take the auto example, and we're currently building a Center for Clean Energy for the future of automotive innovation. But really, the program continues to change, and the program can be adapted because we've got great instructors that are working in industry, and they bring real live experiences to our students, and the students get to apply those in real settings. So there's the learning to learn. There's the opportunity to understand the current technology, learn some of the history, but also the opportunity going forward. But those students then, they exit us, they go either into apprenticeships or they eventually enter into workforces for full-time. We also need to keep retraining those individuals as well. So the technician that I have working on my car that might be working at an auto shop today, they need to adapt to electrical vehicles. They need to adapt to windshield calibration. So there's also a different, so the one type of training is the traditional come to school and get your 2 years of training and then apprenticeship. There's the other one where you need the ongoing learning, and we've got opportunities for those individuals. We use something called micro-credentials as an opportunity to retrain those individuals. And there'll be others that have some skills that may want to move from the auto technician industry to the heavy duty industry where they're working on TransLink cars or brick trucks. And so how do we train those individuals up? So this is a lifelong journey opportunity at VCC. Each of the paths that we have industry experts, employer experts helping us inform the curriculum, and the students get the hands-on experience so that they can enter right into the workforce and start contributing in every which way possible.
Okay, so how do you do that? Because I'm thinking, all right, we talked about the fact that there's at least 10,000 jobs just in the trades. Yeah. And you're going, okay, I need to bring people up to speed in highly specialized and sophisticated areas. It's not, here's how you handle a hammer and a nail and drive it into a piece of wood and how you cut that wood to a certain length.
Right.
Like, we're talking about even that, like the nature of that work has changed. How do you ramp up in a quick manner to meet the needs of industry and still ensure that the people that are graduating have the skill set they need to be able to deliver at the highest possible standards?
So in the programs that are a little bit longer in length, where a student might be starting out from foundations out of high school or looking to change their career path, our curriculum there is not only informed by a national curriculum, but we have program advisory committees that are made up of industry employers that tell us what they need. And then we obviously have our instructors who are always from industry, so they're up to speed on the current technologies. And then we work with manufacturers as well, like the Hondas and the Toyotas of the world, so that we can move those forward. So I think that's one group of the population where we step to see. Where it comes to somebody that might be working and needs to get up to speed and will not be in our classrooms for 2 years or something like that, those opportunities are really around the micro-credential. And that's anywhere from 50 to 120 hours of training. In those situations, we want to co-create the curriculum with the employer because the employer knows what they need. We understand the technology. We can bridge that opportunity. And some of that learning can be done through technology and online. Some of that might require on campus, but a lot of it probably can be done in the workforce itself. And so this concept of co-creating with industry is a real important one because now we're all talking to each other and it's an intersection of where you're coming with education and industry needs, and you really get some traction around that because now the employer has a benefit but also a role in it.
So give me a little clearer definition of what micro-credentials are. I mean, the concept on the surface, I go, well, that sounds interesting, but exactly what is it, and then how does it manifest itself in a student's educational journey?
Micro-credentials is a catchphrase for some micro meaning small, credential meaning some sort of credential, right? And so
it sort of makes sense.
It's a short. Basically, it's a short opportunity for learning, and it's really used in situations where you need to reskill, upskill, or learn a new technology.
Okay, so you already have a skill set.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you come with
now
that foundation.
okay.
Yeah, we're going to build up, and so it's really about that lifelong journey. It lasts anywhere from 50 to 120 hours, and when I say those hours can be online, in the workplace, or in the classroom, or some combination of the three. The key to the micro-credential is you got to work with the industry and say, what are your needs versus what can we offer? So if I go back to the auto technician, windshield calibration has been something that has changed with technology over time.
Boy, is it ever.
And we have a micro-credential on that, and technicians from Canadian Tire to local auto shops can come in and take that. The one I really want to tell you about is the one that we've got that's about, I think it's 80 hours of practical and about 40 hours in the classroom. And it's how do you take a combustion vehicle, so gas vehicle that you and I might have, and how do you electrify it? And so this micro-credential that we have that's about 120 hours provides training. So how do you transform a vehicle that is run on gas into an electrical vehicle? And at last year's Everything Electric Auto Show, we actually used our instructors to demonstrate over 3 days how you can actually have that happen in real time. So that's an example of a micro-credential. So you can see how we can use it not just to upskill somebody to something simple as a windshield calibration, to all the way, let's convert from combustion to electric.
The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you. So in the past, if somebody wanted to upscale, they generally had to say, okay, I maybe have to take time off of work to go to school.
Yeah.
How do you make it work so that the employer still has access to this valuable resource that they have, which is their team member, and yet the team member isn't being penalized for having to go back to school? How do you make that work and still deliver the educational upgrade?
I mentioned that we want to co-create this with the employer. That's how we make it work, because the employer, we co-create it with them so they can tell us, you know what, this individual can do some of this learning on the job, or maybe it's we'll give them Fridays off and they can do the online learning, or maybe they've got to do it in the evening. So we want to work with the employer of how we deliver that education. And then the real key to this is the practical piece, where it has to be done on site in the workforce. And that's where the employer can take some of that responsibility. Make sure, if we give you that particular type of training to calibrate something, where do you have the opportunity to actually apply that? Where do you have the opportunity to actually have that assessment happen? And then we can come in on the back and say, okay, you're capable of doing that. So it's really a partnership in this case. It's not us dictating it, and it's not the employer necessarily. It's us working together around that. And so that the employers don't lose the employee gets the skills that they want, and we're able to bridge that education gap. So
where are you at in your ability to advance into the world of AI? Because AI is touching everything. It's not just professional services. I mean, whether you're that auto mechanic dealing with recalibrating the windshield, AI is now starting to play a role. And it's interesting, like I'll be in discussions with people and they go, well, I tried this and I didn't kind of get the result that I wanted. And that's because they don't really know how to interact with the AI agent that they're dealing with. How do you make sure that you stay as current as possible and deliver that component of the education?
We have AI embedded through all of our curriculum, and it's a credit to our faculty and our staff and everybody at the institution. We've really bought into the AI piece, because one thing AI will not replace is the hands-on piece, right? And so it's not going to eliminate jobs. It's going to make jobs different. And so we are trying to help everybody understand how it's going to make your job different. So in the auto world, in the old days, you had to look up a parts, phone Napa, and then it would get delivered. Now you probably just take a snapshot on your phone, put it into the AI tool, and the delivery is on its way. So just something simple as that can be embedded into the curriculum. And then the other part is to make everybody more familiar with what artificial intelligence really is and what it can do for you, and what does the human interaction of that look like. I think we've seen AI evolve so much over the last couple of years, and I think we'll continue to see that. I don't think we can shy away from it. We will have micro-credentials on artificial intelligence, but the key to using my AI is to embed it within curriculum and embed it into the practices as well. This is where I think some of the employers will need some assistance as to how do they actually embed AI into their day-to-day operations. How much will it cost? What's the return on that cost? From an educational perspective, I think many of our institutions were there. We know that we have to help learners adjust to that world because it is a reality.
So whenever anybody enters any kind of career path, they're going, okay, well, what are my long-term possibilities? And for many now, they're looking at, well, AI may actually be a career killer in this sector. But I can't help but think that trades have some immunity to that because you still have to have hands-on. And so AI is really a human and computer interaction just at another level. Am I right about that?
You're correct. I think in the trades particularly, you have to see AI as an enabler.
Yeah.
What is it going to enable you to do so that you can actually do what you're really meant to do, which is that whole hands-on piece. And we know AI is only going to enable that. So I think from that perspective, we want people to be creative and not be afraid of using artificial intelligence. But we want to have them use it in a way that it's going to help them do their jobs better. And it ultimately, like you said, it's not going to take away that hands-on learning. It's the use in automotive sector, using of technology. Construction sector is now using technology. Artificial intelligence can do a lot of these things, whether it's do a diagram, measure a particular post, for example, that has to go up, or give me a new way of thinking, right? And so I think we really have to encourage that to be used. And the trades does have immunity to it. And I can't say this for sure, but there is a part of me that wonders that's why we're getting more and more graduates that are coming back and wanting to do more of that skills training, not only the opportunity, but also the immunity. I really like that word.
Well, when you mentioned it, when we had our sort of pre-interview call, I thought this has got to be part of the reason why people who already have degrees and are going, okay, my future or even the current job that I wanted isn't there now. Where do I go? They must be looking at this going, okay, there's an opportunity here. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you. So we talked about the fact that there's 40-some-odd thousand jobs. There's this gap. There is a dip in immigration right now. That will more than likely work itself out over the next couple of years as new immigration policy comes in. But you still have to recruit people to trades. And let's be honest, over the last 4 or 5 decades, or maybe even longer, people are going, I don't want you to be an electrician, I want you to be a doctor. And you can go and become an accountant or a lawyer. How do we start to build the message that's going to attract particularly younger people as they're graduating from high school to say, no, I'm actively looking at a career in the trades and I'm going to be proud of it?
I think we're starting to see some of those shifts. I think when you see where the federal government is making its investments now, it's targeting it towards the trades. So beyond the big projects, the investment in training is all around trades training. And the province itself has doubled its trades training budget from $107 million, or more than doubled it, to $240 million. So we're very thankful about that. So I think you're starting to see that macro change. I think where we are still struggling right now is we need alignment. And when I say alignment, we need education, we need government, and we need employers all working together to understand what the value of the trades is. I think so. That's one. I think the second piece is we need to talk about flexible pathways. So a good example at VCC, we have various flexible pathways into the trades. So we talked about the average age of our learners, 35 years old, and they come into our program. 60% of our students that come into the trades have some sort of a credential or degree already. But there's also dual credit where we can go into grade 11 and 12 and expose young kids to the trades opportunities. And by the time they'd finished grade 12, they could have been complete the first year of trades training and could come and finish. And then,
so you're working with the secondary school system.
Yeah, exactly. So it's called dual credit. So I think you're going to see an expansion of that. So I think you're starting to see that piece. So there's that flexibility of the pathways. You don't necessarily always have to finish a degree, or maybe you finish a degree and come back to do skills trade, or you do the trades and you go into a degree. So this whole lifelong learning, or as I call it, flexibility of pathways. The last piece is, I think, where you hit the nail on the head, is navigation. We need to educate both the learner and the parents about the opportunity that the trades brings. And I think the stigma that you were talking about over the last 4 or 5 decades, I think It's starting to shift, and in many thanks to government as well, and industry. But I think we have a ways to go still. But if we can get that navigation correct, where we can show a young learner the opportunity of being a tradesperson can lead to being an entrepreneur, to owning a company, if that's what they wish to do, or being a real great practitioner in that trades. And I equate trades similar to a number of the other professions. A lawyer, a doctor, a nurse goes in every day and they practice the profession to become better at it. Well, I believe an auto mechanic, I believe a construction person, a heavy duty person, a clean energy person, they go in every day and practice their profession to become better at it when they leave as well. So I think we really need to look at it that way.
Well, I think there's another part of the message, and I'm kind of jumping on the bandwagon here, is you're not going to run out of work, and you can make good money.
Yep.
I don't think people talk about it. You're making good money, especially if you go into some of these remote projects or major projects. They need highly skilled people, and they pay incredibly well.
It does. And more recent data out of the federal government actually shows that over a lifetime, this was different probably about 10 years ago, but over the lifetime of an individual with a trades training background versus the traditional degree background, someone with a trades training now earns slightly more. There was a time where it was significantly less. I think you're seeing that paradigm shift, and part of that is the opportunities will always exist there, and it's a skill that no one can take away from you.
Well, and then also there's much lower barriers to entry into entrepreneurialism. I know you touched on it a moment ago, but I want to touch on that if you're skilled, no matter what it is in the trade, and you have identified that there's a market there, from where you are to actually having your own company and employing people and realizing those opportunities.
It's there for
you can't do that when you're a doctor or others so easily.
No, it isn't. It isn't gonna. It's that opportunity presents itself right away once you've finished your foundation training and you're now into apprenticeship. You start seeing those opportunities for yourself, and so there's real ways of doing that. And one of the ways that VCC we've capitalized that, we've introduced a modernized apprenticeship. And in the traditional trades training, there was always this friction where you get some training, then you have to go work, and then you have to leave work to go and get some more training over a number of years. Well, at VCC, we've said once you've done that foundation work in this modern apprenticeship approach, for the next 3 years, you will do 20% of your training online and 80% of it in the workforce, and we'll work with the employer to make sure that you get the right competencies and skill sets. Employer doesn't lose their employee. The employee doesn't have to leave work for 7-8 weeks, 3 times over 3 years. Don't go on unemployment insurance, and they can get on with their lives, and they can get on with what they really want to do for themselves and not worry about this kind of disjointedness.
So, final question here, do you have the capacity to be able to ramp up if you get an onslaught, people going, okay, I hear the message, AJ, I want in. Is it a competition to get in, or do you have the capacity to meet?
Depends on what area.
Right.
Some areas we have capacity, but a lot of areas we're full. But that's why we're really thankful for the doubling of the money by the provincial government. That's opened up 5,000 seats this year across the sector, and there's 2 more years of that funding. So I hope to increase that capacity at VCC, and I'm sure my colleague institutions will do the same. And so we look forward to that.
Well, it's an exciting future. Thank you.
Thanks, Stuart.